Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Pompiani. We're live today at Heinz Field as we get you set for Week 6 of the NFL season. It's actually the 5th game for the Steelers, who have started 4-0, as you know, for the first time since 1979. I'm Bob Pompiani. We welcome you inside Mike Tomlin's press conference, which will begin shortly, and it's a very busy week for the Steelers. They are trying to get to 5-0, but they have a team right behind them in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns, who started badly with a lopsided loss in Week 1, but they've responded with 4 straight wins. A lot of stuff going on here with regard to the Steelers. There were some guys who were banged up last week, left the games. Mike Tomlin will address, I'm sure, the injury situation with Deontay Johnson, Marquise Pouncey, as well as David DeCastro. Cleveland comes here with a lot of confidence, no question about that. They just beat Indianapolis at home. They had a pick 6 of Phil Rivers in that game. They're one of the best teams in the NFL when it comes to takeaways. And the Steelers have been good about not giving it away. So this should be a great matchup. First place is on the line. I think it's probably the biggest Browns game that they've had in the regular season since 1994 when Bill Belichick was their head coach. Mike Tomlin's getting ready to address the media, so let's go over to the South Side right now for the Mike Tomlin press conference.
Good afternoon. I'll start first with a medical update. We had a couple of guys that sustained injury in-game, and their availability this week will be determined by the quality of their practice and their practice availability specifically. Those guys are David DeCastro with an abdominal strain. Marquise Pouncey has a foot injury of some kind. Is probably going to limit his practice availability at the beginning of the week, but I don't know that it's going to jeopardize his playing availability. And same with Deontay Johnson, who took a direct blow to the back. There were a couple of guys that were out in our last game who have a chance to work themselves back into rotation, those being Derek Watt and Marcus Allen. Both guys have been in the building at the early portion of this week and have run, and rehabilitation leads us to believe that they're going to be available to practice, and we'll let the quality of that practice be our guide in terms of whether we include them in the development of a plan. In review of our last game, like I said, after the game at the stadium, it wasn't a clean game by us by any stretch, but it's good to win while you learn. And hopefully we have learned from some of the things that we didn't perform at a high level in that game. And I'll start first with third down defense, like I talked about after the game. We just didn't do a good job of controlling them circumstances. And really, be quite honest with you, some of the circumstances were advantageous to us, meaning third and long. The big play pop by Miles, man, you got to first give kudos to him. But, man, they ran a draw in the 3rd and 10 into the teeth of a blitz, and we had unblocked people at the point of attack. We just got to kind of make those plays. And sometimes the process of learning is not an alteration of what it is that we do in preparation, or even in a level of attention to a detail in terms of our play, just an acknowledgement that in those weighty moments, you got to make those tackles. You got to, make the catch. You got to make the significant block. And sometimes through the course of this journey, there's some negative experiences along those lines, and they just provide reinforcement to certain things that we already know. There might not be any adjustment moving forward other than the acknowledgement of how miserable it is. That play changed the trajectory of the day for them and for us, particularly as it pertained to those possession downs, and it made it tough sledding along the way. Thankfully for us, we were controlling the possession downs on the other side of the ball as well. I thought Ben was spectacular in that regard, and really did a nice job spreading the ball around and keeping the chains moving. We were able to possess the ball, and that's what team is about. And I think that's what we're learning through this journey. We're doing it differently when we step into a stadium, and we're leaning on different strengths and working to minimize different weaknesses based on the matchup. But along the way, through at least the first quarter of the season, we found a way to consistently win in the face of that, and that's what it's about. This week, we're faced with a significant challenge, one that we're excited about because, man, we love being in the kitchen. And AFC North ball is in the kitchen. It's hot in the North, and we got an AFC North home game against the Cleveland Browns, a team that's won 4 in a row. They're 4-1 on the season. We got a lot of respect for them and their journey and where they're at in their journey, and we're excited about, the challenge that a week like this presents for us and how we manage it, how we prepare, how we're focused, and then ultimately how we play. First, talking about them on the defensive side of the ball, I think you start with Myles Garrett. We know about his freakish talent, but he's got play to match here in 2020. He's a defensive player of the year like candidate looking at the video. He's a sack fumble guy. He's a game changer. He has in just about every game that they've played thus far. He's a guy that you have to be mindful of, not only in terms of his location, but, what he's doing and the quality and capability in which he can do it and his potential impact on the game. We just got to be really mindful of that. But he's not a one-man gang, man. They got a quality front over there with guys like Sheldon Richardson and even quality backup acquisitions like Claypool, who I have a lot of respect for, a veteran former first-rounder. They, like a lot of 4-3 teams, they've got top-end talent, but they also got quality depth. Those guys provide the wave that the others ride, and they've got really good quality people riding that wave, man. They've acquired Carl Joseph at the safety position, a former top pick from the Oakland Raiders, former West Virginia Mountaineer, who I just absolutely love in draft prep, man. He's got a certain physicality in his play that you admire if you appreciate football. Got a lot of respect for Denzel Ward and his talents and his ball hawking abilities. They're just a very well-rounded group, and that front provides the wave that they ride. They put pressure on the passer. They smash the run. Those things, coupled with the way they control the ball on offense, allow them to really control football games. They lead the league in turnovers. And so the protection of the football is a significant component of play for us. And like I mentioned, guys like Miles and Sheldon Richardson make that a difficult task, the protection of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, man, they got some wideouts that really capture your attention, and Odell and Landry, and rightfully so. But the strength of their pack is in the pack. They've got quality depth throughout all positional groups. They got quality wideouts like the ones I mentioned. They got quality tight ends. They got a nice free agent acquisition from Atlanta and Hooper, who is a frontline volume catch guy at the tight end position. They got the former top pick out of Miami that's missed a couple of games from injury, who is back, was back this past weekend. They got a diverse attack at the tight end position. They got quality depth at the running back position. Can't say enough about Hunt and Chubb, what they've been able to do as a tandem. Obviously, Chubb is down, but they've got a quality running game regardless who's running the ball. Their offensive line has done an awesome job in terms of controlling the line of scrimmage. That rookie left tackle is particularly impressive. He's not playing like a rookie. Conklin at right tackle is a grinder, one that we respect. They just got a well-balanced attack. They're possessing the ball. They keep you off balance. They changed the launch point. Baker's doing a good job of administering the offense, and they're playing suffocating and splash play-oriented defense. So we're excited about being in a game like this. We respect it. We want to show that respect with detailed preparation and ultimately hoping that takes care of us when we step into the stadium and it's time to perform on Sunday. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Mark Caboli.
Hey, Mike. Two starting quarterbacks. The targets, receptions, are about the same through the first 4 games, but the penalties are. Do you think those are based off more blitzing, or what do you attribute those numbers to?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up, and I couldn't hear part of your question.
Can you hear me now?
I got you clear now.
All right. With your 2 starting cornerbacks, the targets, receptions are about the same through 4 games this year than last, but the touchdowns, penalties, yards are up for a little bit. Do you think those are based off you guys blitzing more, or what do you attribute that to?
I just attribute it to a 4-game sample size. Keep watching. We'll continue to write our story, particularly as it pertains to comparing it to a 16-game body of work from a year ago. If you took a sample size of our body of work last year at this time through 4 games, it was miserable, I think. And so we're very much in development, and I like the overall trajectory of our group in the corners, and we're just going to keep working.
Brooke Pryor.
Hey, Mike, I know you just gave us a long rundown of the Browns and what you're seeing in this team, but how are they different from Browns teams of years past? Do they have a different feel to what they're doing and the momentum that they bring into this game?
I don't have the answer to that. People that are inside that building are better equipped to answer that, guys that have been a part of it. I respect what they're doing and what they've done here in 2020. And really, I focus my energies on this group and what they're capable of. I just don't have a lot of time during the course of a game week to kind of paint with that broad of a brush or have that type of perspective. They got some new acquisitions and some new developments, particularly in their coaching staff with Coach Stefanski and Coach Woods on the defensive side of the ball, that really has my attention. It just hasn't been a lot of time for that kind of reflection.
Jerry Dulac.
Hey, Mike, you're playing with the lead a whole lot more frequently than you did last year. What does that allow you to do, both offensively and defensively?
You're able to maintain balance, and that is our desired approach offensively. When time becomes of the essence and you're behind in games, you don't always have control over that. So the ability to maintain balance thoughtfully, the ability to remain thoughtfully non-rhythmic, if you will, offensively, I think is good. Also, to be able to discourage people from running the ball like you're capable of doing when you're not behind it is good. And so I just think that those are natural things relative to the question you asked, but they're not exclusive to us or our circumstance. I think that would apply to anybody who's playing with the lead as opposed to someone that's coming from behind.
Dale Lawley.
Mike, Ben has been pretty critical of his own play thus far this season. What's your assessment of it? 1 turnover, 10 touchdown passes in the first 4 games. It just seems like he is maybe being overly critical of himself.
I think he's very mentally sharp. I think sometimes, when you have the perspective that he has now, he watched the bulk of football, in 2019. And oftentimes when you get removed from your role and you get to watch it from a different perspective, it might change your perspective on performance and evaluation thereof. So, I'm not displeased with the overall trajectory of his play. I like the fact that he's being critical of his performance. I also like where he is from a mental standpoint right now. And we're just going to continue to work and knock the rust off and gain the rhythm that we're accustomed to seeing from him. And hopefully we better continue to win while we do that.
Tim Benz.
Mike used the phrase mindful of his location when talking about Myles Garrett. How often has that location been over the right guard or even bumping inside a little bit more to exploit the center since your starters are injured and might have some depth issues at those positions this week?
I think it might be subject to a lot of discussions. It appears that he moves around more when 54 isn't playing. For example, sometimes it might be relative to their people. Sometimes it might be the structure of the call. They got some solid fronts where they cover up your interior 3 and he plays over a guard. Sometimes it may be situational, as you mentioned, relative to one-on-one pass matchups. I know regardless of what the reason might be, we better be cognizant of his movement and work to minimize it in all the above circumstances.
Jeff Hathorn.
Mike, you mentioned the team picking each other up and being able to do that in certain ways. What allows a team to be able to do that? Is it talent? Is it camaraderie? What goes into a team being able to do those type of things?
It's all of the above. There's a scarcity of talent in this thing, particularly at this level, and you got to have the horses to run. And so it starts with talent, but it also takes a certain selflessness and a certain team mindset that allows you to rise up in the face of adversity, particularly adversity that wasn't created directly by you, that allows you to, uplift those around you. And that's what makes football the ultimate team game. And that's what makes this process of growth and development and meeting the challenges of the journey every week challenging and rewarding.
Will Graves.
Mike, what is it about their run game that is maybe different than what you've seen through the first 4 games this season?
You mean what makes their run game different than those that we've played?
Yeah, what makes them, obviously they've been really, really effective running the ball, and you guys have been really, really good at stopping the run. So I'm just curious, when you watch them on tape, what is it about them that stands out from a running standpoint?
The other teams we play don't have, Chubb and Hunt, and the quality front that I mentioned, Conklin and that first rounder at left tackle and the quality guys that they've been able to assemble inside. Hub particularly might be playing guard for him. We all know and respect Chris Hubbard, man. They've got quality players. They got quality schematics. Kevin Stefanski has been around solid run game all of his career. He spent a lot of time up in Minnesota, man, during the Adrian Peterson years and even after. The Minnesota Vikings has always been a group that's been capable of running the ball. There's a commitment there. Bill Callahan, their line coach, carries that reputation as well. They're the reason why they're different.
Alan Saunders.
Mike Mayfield has thrown fewer interceptions this year than he has at any point in his career. Is that just maturity, or have they done something different with their scheme that's allowing him to be more efficient?
They're running the ball well, and they're not behind in football games.
Jenna Harner.
Mike, what's the biggest area of focus for you guys as a collective team this week?
Our preparation and ultimately our play. It's an honor to be in big matchups, games that have, national significance and so forth. But in those moments, man, it's not about the nameless great faces that we play this week. It happens to be the Cleveland Browns. Got a lot of respect for them, but I want to relay to our football team that when you're in those moments, when you're in those 5-star matchups, it's about what you do and the quality in which you do it, and not about the storylines or the people that you're playing.
Ty Miller. Ray Fittipaldo.
Part question, was there a miscommunication on Fulgham's 4-yard touchdown catch? And what are the issues that are popping up in the secondary on 3rd and longs? I know you went over the Sanders run, but what are some of the specific issues that the secondary is facing?
Some of the issues aren't issues. Some of the issues are just 13 was making some combat catches, and you got to acknowledge that. A couple of those conversions, man, were thrown into tight coverages, and they were great throws. That one down the field, we were in 2 deep man under, and Mike Hilton was in close proximity to 13. He made a combat catch down the middle of the field, running blind. You got to respect that. He made a circus jump catch in front of our bench when Steve Nelson was draped all over him and challenging the throw from the catch from start to finish. So it's not always something that you have to fix. So, and that's what I mean when I mentioned earlier. Sometimes it's just an acknowledgement that they work, that they have a plan, that they've got quality players that are capable of making plays, and sometimes they're going to make a play, and you got to roll your sleeves up and fight on. And it's good to see our group gain that understanding. Everything that require a meeting or a dry erase board or an adjustment, sometimes it's just get back out there and fight. And it was some of that. And if I didn't acknowledge that, I'd be doing the Philadelphia Eagles a disservice.
Bo Marciani.
Coach, yesterday Ray McCloud was on, and he said the day he arrived in the door, he was treated like family. He said he loved playing for you, and he said he can be himself on this roster. What do you contribute yourself to? I mean, when did you adapt that coaching style? Was there anyone that kind of led you to have this family atmosphere in the coaching realm?
No, I just think that we all have a certain vision about how we want to do it. If we get an opportunity to lead, and that's always been in my vision, but visions are just part of it. You got to make sure that your day-to-day actions match that. You got to make sure that the people that work alongside you share that vision. And I'm blessed enough to be in a circumstances where we have that, and we have great continuity in the midst of it. And so it allows us to circle the wagons around a young man with some talent like Ray that's probably looking for a fresh start, and put him in an environment where his talents can come to the stage and he can move on and get better and grow. And so, it's our job to create that environment. It's Ray's job to come to work every day and get better within it. And that's how we all collectively eat together.
Aditi Kankabala.
Hi, as you talk about Ben Roethlisberger's mental approach and the perspective he had, he himself talked a lot this past weekend about the checks he made and the ability that he has to call things. I know you've given him a lot of freedom over the last few years, but when was there really this intellectual evolution, do you think? When do you believe there was a significant change in the way that he reads the field and the control he has?
Probably sometime in the last 14 years. He and I have been at it together a long time. It's not something where you flick a light switch on and you could probably point to a date or a significant circumstance where it transpired like Eureka. It's just a continual growth and development over the course of a career, which through an unbelievable blessing has happened to be an extremely long one. And so it's reasonable to expect him to have a different level of, awareness and be able to call upon that in circumstances, man. He's been in circumstances that most of us won't be in, and he's seen a lot of it over the years.
Noah Strackman.
Hey, Mike, when you watch the film on Odell Beckham, from a disheartening season opener to now, have you seen any adjustment that's kind of helped him, grow this season or get more open eyes?
No, in the season opener, man, I don't think any of them had a good experience. They lost a football game and they had a bad game. And since then, they've won 4 in a row. And so, whether you're talking about an individual or a collective, I think that summarizes their journey to this point.
Mark Caboli.
Hey, Mike, do you see teams putting your defense in situations where Hilton has to cover more this year? And is there anything you can do to combat that?
I don't see that, no.
Brooke Pryor.
Mike, you've mentioned Myles Garrett a couple times, and it's the first time your team will be on the same field with him since last year's altercation with Mason. What's your message to the team this week about avoiding distractions and putting last year kind of behind them?
There really is no message. My day-to-day existence kind of relays that message that you suggested. There's a lot on the table in reference to this game in terms of stakes. They're a 4-1 team. We're trying to remain undefeated. We're not looking for that low-hanging fruit or that reality TV storylines and so forth. This is a big game here in 2020.
Come back to Ty Miller. Go ahead.
Coach, can you talk about the balance you have on offense and how it's keeping opposing defenses off balance?
It starts first and foremost with a bunch of quality players across positions. We got some talent. Excuse me. We got some talent across positions, and we work to utilize that talent and to highlight that talent week to week through a game plan, through matchups that's kind of reflective and kind of thoughtfully non-rhythmic, if you will. In an effort to maintain balance and keep the chains moving and ring the scoreboard up. But we're very much a work in progress. We're still finding our footing in terms of division of labor and learning what some of the new men are capable of and working to utilize and maximize that within our mix. And so, this is a big week for us. We're in our first game in divisional play and understanding the significance of that. So we're excited about where we are.
Time for a couple more. Will Graves.
Mike, you guys have been really successful at home against them the entirety of your time here. When you have that sort of sustained success, does that provide any sort of mental advantage over an opponent?
It doesn't. You think Kevin Stefanski cares or Joe Woods cares or some of the significant components, some of the new people care? No. Do you think some of our new people care? Significant components of our equation, guys like Ebron and others who don't have that shared experiences. I've learned to shelve my experiences and get focused on the variables at hand because oftentimes they aren't shared experiences.
Aditi?
Going back to your defense on 3rd down on Sunday, at any point, can you just chalk that up to, okay, that was a really bad day and we're past it? Or were there some alarming trends that you really need to address?
I'm not into chalking up anything. I think if you're a professional, you have a desire to be at your best, you'll continually comb through things in an effort to get better for your next time out. So that's what we're doing. I'm just acknowledging that some of the plays don't require an adjustment, either in personnel or technique or schematics. Sometimes you just got guys on the other side that are working hard and performing at a good level as well. And some of that happened on Sunday. And you got to tip your cap to Carson Wentz. You got to tip your cap to 13. You just got to tip your cap to the Philadelphia Eagles, man. We're all competitors in this thing. And I saw that their coaching staff said similar things about Ben's ability to check into the play that kind of closed the game out when he threw the ball down the middle of the field to Claypool. It's a chess match. We're all working. We're all capable, and plays are being made. That's what makes the National Football League so competitive and so interesting, and the job so challenging week to week.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin's press conference for another week as they get set for the Cleveland Browns coming up here on Sunday at Heinz Field. And boy, what a showdown this will be. The AFC North is one of the most balanced, deepest divisions in football, with the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers right now who are on top. So every game is important. This one will be too. In case you joined us late, Mike Tomlin addressed the injury situation. He seemed optimistic that Marquise Pouncey would be able to play. DeCastro and Deontay Johnson will go through the week, and it doesn't sound like any of those are serious injuries as well. So that's important. They've been relatively healthy all season long, with some notable exceptions. But the bottom line is those guys who've stepped in, specifically Dotson, Chooks Okorafor, have done a pretty good job when called upon. And J.C. Hassenauer is another kid undrafted who got some time at the end of last game. It's good to know that they can step up if need be. As far as Cleveland, he talked about how good they are taking the football away, and the Steelers are pretty good about not giving it away, and that's going to be one of the subplots to this game. A lot riding on this game. First place, specifically the Steelers trying to get to 5-0. The Browns have won 4 in a row. We have a lot of activity coming up this week on both KDK TV and all the Steeler digital platforms. Join us for the Mike Tomlin Show. That's coming up on Saturday night, 11:35. Missy Matthews and I will be there. Coach Tomlin talks about the Browns. We got some great feature items on there as well. That show will also air at midnight on the Steelers YouTube channel. And after the game on Sunday, we'll kick it off. We got post-game with the Extra Point Show and the Sports Call, all on KDK TV. So that's going to wrap up another Mike Tomlin press conference. Thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully you have a good day, and look forward to seeing you on Sunday when the Browns meet the Steelers in the first big division game of the season. I'm Bob Pompiani. For all of us here, we'll see you next week.